Good morning, guys. This is Yealink and Zoom co-branded webinar. Thank you for your time. We'll start very soon.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Your presence here is greatly appreciated. Yealink and Zoom have cultivated a strong and mutually beneficial partnership over the years. So this collaboration has been increasingly important in enhancing the overall video conferencing and communication experience for users. So today, this moment, I feel greatly honored to have Zoom Room specialists Felipe and Sean and educator Dr. Ford to co-host this amazing show. All right, Zoomies, I'll hand it over to you. Let's just get started.
All right, and welcome to everybody to Zoom headquarters. My name is Felipe Henao. I'm a Zoom Room specialist for the Western United States supporting the higher education in K-12 verticals. I'm here with my colleagues, Sean Spires, who is my colleague to the east, and the great Dr. Ford, who is an educator and Zoom advocate for everything that has to do in the education space in the United States and abroad, because he is engaged with a lot of universities in other parts of the world. So with that said, guys, what we're going to do here is we're going to give you a tour of a day in Zoom and what we can do with Zoom Rooms when we're working with Zoom Rooms in a physical space. So let's just get it started. So when we as we are walking through the hallways here at Zoom and perhaps in your educational institutions, a lot of times we have areas that are not traffic, but they need people to welcome visitors. One of the things that we're always going to have is, how do we greet these people? How do we make sure that we give them that personal touch? And one of the things that we have here is we have created our virtual receptionist. In this case, is being hosted by one of the new devices here from Yealink. This is the A24 personal device. As you can see the experience, we have two experiences. One is our virtual receptionist and the other one is our Workspace reservation. We'll touch into that in a few seconds. And what we are doing here is let's just have our receptionist function work here. So for those schools where you have different functions like perhaps counseling, perhaps security, again, a receptionist, attendance, whatever the case may be, that's where we want to make sure that we can extend the reach in the different buildings on campus or perhaps different campuses across your systems in order to, again, give that personalized service by virtualizing that thing with just a little device like this. So let's go ahead and get a call to our receptionist and get us welcome.
Good morning.
Hey, Ed, we're here for the Yealink webinar. Could we come in?
Absolutely, but be sure to check in with Workspace Reservation.
Sounds great. Let's go ahead and do that. And guys, throughout the tour as we do this, please feel free to put all your questions on the Q&A section of the webinar. My team from both Yealink and from Zoom will be more than glad to answer any questions or address any comments that you guys have throughout the tour. So as Ed mentioned, in order for us to visit Zoom and for those of you that are perhaps moving into a hybrid space type of a setup in your offices and perhaps campuses, because we do have a lot of campuses throughout the United States using Workspace Reservation in order to get their student union rooms as well as their libraries. So that way they know exactly who's using the spaces and how they're being used. When we come into Zoom, we're presented with a map. This can be either on the desktop or mobile device. Here we have more of a kiosk approach for something that is in a lobby or somewhere in a hallway. As you guys can see, if I move from campus to campus and if I'm new or I just don't know how these rooms look when I'm going to reserve them, we load pictures. We have the time, the actual availability of the room, so we can actually bring the schedule of that space. We have the capacity, and we can also list, which is not done here, we can also list some of the assets that are in the space, like screens, printers, different technology that's available to the users. Obviously, this room is being reserved for this event. So what we're going to do is, I just came to the office. I want to reserve a space that has a phone. So with Zoom Rooms and with Workspace Reservation, we can not only reserve the space, but we can reserve the technology that's in this space. So again, if you have people that move from one campus to the next, and they want the phone to follow them, or their phone number and their technology to follow them, all they have to do is just implement Zoom Workspace reservation, and that's it. So here we're just going to reserve for the time of the webinar from 10 to 11. Let's hit next. And what it's going to do is going to present me with a QR code. So what I do is I open my camera. I go ahead and scan the QR code. And then immediately by virtual doing this, because this is logged in with my profile, now my avatar, my persona is now taking over that particular space as well as the technology that's in this space. Let me go ahead and close here. And then let's go ahead and follow me. Now the most logic step is for us to move to the desk. Here we have one device, a Zoom phone appliance, that is now waiting for me in order to check in. But as you can see, because this space has been reserved, the technology also has been reserved and it's under my name. It's telling the users and the people that are walking through that this space is reserved from 10 to 11, that it has been, that it's actually red, so it's not available anymore. So what we can do, again, just like we did to reserve, we open the camera. We go ahead and hit check-in, and then immediately my Zoom persona is transferring to this phone. So what's happening here is my profile, and it's asking me to set up a pin in case I need to get up and get some lunch. I'm going to go ahead and also allow for this phone to know my location in order we need to do some sort of emergency deployment for E911 and all the functionality in order to make sure that your safety coordinators know exactly where those users are at any point in time in your campuses or away from your campuses. We have ability to do that. And then now, as you can see, my schedule, my contact list, my profile is all on this phone. So now, not only if I move from campus to campus or from office to office, I never have to have a generic phone. I never have to have anything that it doesn't belong to me. My number and everything follows me right onto these devices. When I'm done, or for those that are enforcing policy, if I'm going to exceed the time, it does ask me to go ahead and extend. But if not, if this is also if this is reserved, checks me out and makes it available for somebody else. Now, again, with the A24, you guys saw it provisioned as a kiosk. Now, this is a workspace reservation device here for a Zoom room. If I just walked into the space, I see that it's available and I just want to reserve. All I do is, again, I just reserve for the time that I need to reserve. I hit next, immediately gives me that QR code, and then all I have to do, open my camera, reserve it, and then same thing to go ahead and check in, right? So immediately I go ahead and do the check-in, and then it checks me in, and then now my profile is transferred to this space, and then now I have a Zoom phone and a Zoom room all at the same time. And as you can see, Zoom room gives me all the views for on my schedule, all the events that are happening. It also gives me access to my phone. So a lot of different nice features that are available with an all-in-one device like this one. By the way, this one does tilt in case you guys need to do whiteboarding and annotation. So really, really cool options in order to support a lot of our features in Zoom that are so great in the education space. All right. As we keep moving, again, feel free, keep putting those questions on chat and on the Q&A section. We definitely love to answer and to really engage with you. And this is something that you need some follow-up from both the Zoom team and the Yealink team. Please let us know. We would love to do a personal demo for your institutions and for your teams here in order to continue the conversation as to how we bring this technology into your campuses. Now, guys, here we are. This is more of a large space, and please, even though this is an administrative space, this is a conference room, we're seeing this technology being deployed in classrooms and other spaces across campuses all over the world, and it's because it's so simple, right? In the past, this room used to be heavily integrated. We used to have ceiling mics, ceiling speakers, all sorts of technology to share content like cables, dongles. We had a conference phone. We had a video endpoint. And what we decided to do is that with Zoom rooms, a lot of that AV infrastructure is now resides on the cloud. So what we did is that 5-foot rack that costed us about $60,000, we basically got rid of it and consolidated all the AV experience. And basically, this became our media hub in this space. Yealink A30. It has a 4K camera, speakers, microphone, processor, all built into the same space. As from a room prep perspective, not a lot that needed to be done to get this A30 here. Just power, network, 2 HDMI cables, and we are off to the races. Now, one of the things that we see in education quite a bit is that in a lot of cases, some people don't want to moderate technology. So as you guys can see, the user interface for this room is at the head of the table. So what do we do when teachers or when presenters don't want to interact with the technology and we need to have somebody to help them, or we just want a different interface somewhere in the room? So perhaps we have access to a mute button in the front of the table or somewhere here. So what we did is we created an application called Zoom Room Controller app. When you open that application, it leverages technology that's called proximity. It is an ultrasonic beam that goes from this device to my phone, and then the two of them shake hands, and I can actually control the room. I'm going to replicate the user interface right on my phone. So let's go ahead and hit this. It's going to ask me to put that 6-digit code that you guys see at the top in order to make sure that there is some sort of security in between in this interaction. So I go ahead and type it in. And in a few seconds, what happens is now this device shakes hands with my unit. I'm replicating the user interface on my phone. And then let's go ahead and get it started with this meeting. Let's go ahead and give it a call.
So again, guys, now you guys see this experience, right? Now we have the person joining the call. Not a lot of technology that it took to build this room. So this room we built for less than $5,000, and this is a large space. This is capacity of 14 to 15 people. And as you guys can see, I look quite far from you because we did this intentionally. We did not provision these devices with any automation. We wanted to make sure that everything was done manually, so you guys would notice how these things can be all driven by AI as participants come into the room. So when we enable and we were provisioned to do this automatically, immediately as soon as this device knows that there is somebody in this room, it immediately puts me on frame. So now, even though I'm so far away from this camera right now, just for reference, this room is about 15 by 30. I'm sitting about 26 feet away from the camera. Now you're seeing me front and center. Now you can hear what it is that I'm saying. And then again, we didn't need that much space. Now, when there's another person in this space, like Ed just kind of creeped in there, then immediately the AI recognizes that there's a second participant and I need to be part of it. It needs to be part of that call. So with that, let me go ahead and hang up. Again, keep those questions coming. We're answering them. And let me move into our next space and hit the hallways here at Zoom again.
All right. So guys, as we go with here, the hallways here, let's just continue with this trend of workspace management. How do we know that these rooms are available? And then with workspace reservation and with Zoom rooms, your institutions have unlimited access. As the minute you have one Zoom room license in your account, you have unlimited licensing to do scheduling displays. All you have to do is just add scheduling displays like this one here, like the one manufactured by Yealink, and now you have a way to just do PoE, one of these devices, free, included licensing from Zoom, and then now you can show what's happening in this space. As you can see, the red banner is showing that this room is busy for this event here with Yealink. There's other events that are happening here throughout the day. So what happens if I want to reserve the space at a later time? I can just go ahead and hit reserve, and then immediately tells me, okay, for this room, these are the slots that are available. You can go ahead and either increase the time that you need it or move to a different slot. But if the room happens to be booked for the entire day, I can just go ahead and hit reserve another room. And then it brings up the map of everything that is available during the time slot that I'm picking. So everything shows green, so that's good news. I can go ahead and book directly from here, and then send the actual invitation directly from this panel, so that way people don't have to go back to their offices or their desks to actually get that invitation going. Now let's go ahead and follow me into the huddle space. So guys, this is a space that is rather small, perhaps the favorite spaces here for our Zoomies. Size about 12 by 12, capacity about 4 to 5 people. And one of the things that we like to showcase here is that in education with our education customers, you guys have a lot of technology that perhaps is no longer up to date, that perhaps is ready to be recycled. Some of these touch screens, some of these boards that were intelligent back in 2013, 2015, and now they're just sitting there in a corner. We can really squeeze some additional life out of those devices because with Zoom, when you integrate a device like this is a Yealink A10, and then you connect via USB, just one USB cable from USB A to USB B into the touch interface of these devices. Now you created a much more intelligent whiteboard experience. Now you have a whiteboard that resides on the cloud, that resides within Zoom, that can be integrated with your LMS. And then now this becomes the media hub of the space, and we'll show you that in a few seconds as we're doing some of our demo. So what can we do with Zoom in Zoom rooms when we're not on Zoom, when we are just having a local classroom experience, a local presentation experience? Everything that we do when we're just with our students, there's nobody in the virtual space, and we want to leverage all these AV resources that now reside on the cloud and that they're so great in order to really bring the collaboration and that hybrid and that virtual experience to a whole new level. So when we're not on Zoom, we can go ahead and whiteboard. Right, so we do have the ability to start whiteboarding, and Dr. Lance is going to show you a lot of tricks and tips as to how he uses this technology on a daily basis with his students. You have the ability to, again, just have a white canvas where you can just go ahead and write things. Or you have the ability to just, if you wanted to load some sort of template, you have many hundreds of preloaded templates that perhaps are applicable to some of your applications. You can also create your own and load them for your users or teachers to go through it. So we'll have Dr. Lance go through this, but just know that this becomes very, very powerful in the classroom because now you can leverage touchscreens that you own, or you can buy touchscreens or some of these all-in-one devices from Yealink that we'll be showing you in a few seconds in order to do just this, right? Some whiteboarding, annotation, and making that class far more interactive. At the end, just like we did to Reserve, if your users have channels to interact with their students in class, and these ones become, again, throughout the semester or throughout the year, all these annotations can be saved, or they can be brought back in order for them to keep editing throughout the year. And then again, associating it with a channel, it becomes all those annotations and all those notes they become available right then and there. We're not going to do that right now. So again, Dr. Ford will go through that, some of these cool things that we can do with annotation. Now, another thing is we do need telephony, right? So in integrating telephony into some of these devices in the past, very, very expensive. But here, one Zoom phone license immediately gives you the ability to have telephony directly from this device. So we can start eliminating technology from these rooms, and we can start consolidating everything into one user interface that is going to give us probably far better results than what we're doing today with just disjointed technology that it doesn't really provide a cohesive experience. Now, another thing that we like to do, and probably one of the most common ones in classrooms and in boardrooms and all sorts of shared spaces, is we like to share content. Wireless content share is a must. A lot of people do things that perhaps are not kosher with devices that are for consumer use, devices that perhaps require you to get people off the network and join the network for that specific provider. Perhaps providers that have dongles and technology that need executables and things that just are really hard to support and not the best experience, and it's very, very expensive even to implement them. So here, most of us already have the Zoom client loaded in our computers. Everybody knows Zoom. Everybody knows how to use Zoom. So we have a share button on the main screen that you probably have seen. That button is designed exclusively to work with Zoom rooms. And what it's doing is leveraging the same technology that we used a few minutes ago to control the room. Between this device and my device, all I have to do is just hit share screen. It's most likely going to ask me to use this sharing key in order to, again, add that second layer of security to make sure that we know that person is actually physically here. So when we hit share screen, these two devices start talking. And then immediately, in this case, because I am part of the account, so you can actually set this up in that way that if you are part of the account, you may not require to have that 6-character code. Now we can actually start sharing my screen. I can go ahead and now have my presentations and have people do the same because we have many, many different ways as to how we share our devices right onto a Zoom room. So again, right now, everything that we're doing not on Zoom. These are things that we do daily in our spaces. And we go through a great deal of trouble, and we have gone through a great deal of trouble in the past in order for these things to work. As you can see, because this is now on the cloud, this is all on Zoom. This is super easy to implement. All we did is an existing display that was here, that was touch. We just added this little $1,000 little bar from Yealink, connected to the power network and one USB cable in order to leverage the touch display. And then now we have a full functional media experience in this space. Whiteboarding, wireless content share, telephony. We have all sorts of different templates and things that we can use. Now, one of the biggest ones, and let me stop sharing here, is other people tell us, like, we love Zoom, we use Zoom day in and day out, but we do have to interact with third-party platforms like Microsoft Teams, like Google Meet, like WebEx. So how do we address that? So with Zoom, with the co-development agreements that we have with those companies, here we go. So now if we are doing if those platforms invite a Zoom room to join one of their meetings, they can send a simple meeting invite to the Zoom room, and then it'll populate this join button regardless of the platform. As long as we can, we play with them, we can just hit join, and then we can join those calls no problem. But if for any reason we just have the session ID or the meeting ID for those platforms, we don't have an invitation, we don't have a way to automate that piece. We also have our shortcuts, and this is not something that you program with macros, none of that. This is actually native to Zoom. You can just turn them on and off by just clicking one little box. So if we were invited to a Google Meet, all we have to do is just enter the meeting code, hit join, and what happens is this device, the Zoom room, takes the persona of the WebRTC persona of Meet, joins as a native client to that platform, and then is able to participate. It's worth to point out, you will only be able to do this as a participant. You cannot do this as a host. So we will never be the host for any of these meetings. We can only be the host for Zoom. But as a participant, you have no problem in joining any of these calls from them. Now, keep in mind, we only give you what those platforms can support on WebRTC. So the entire WebRTC client and what it can support is what we're doing here. So, again, the full functionality is it all depends on what the manufacturers have made available on WebRTC. I'm going to take this device with me because we're going to use it later in another room. Let's go ahead and move to the next space as we go through the hallways here at Zoom. And again, keep those questions coming. Engage with our team. We're here to help. And if any follow-ups to any of these topics, again, we would love to get a one-on-one with your teams and continue these conversations between all our teams that are present in this webinar. Now, one cool thing, just like we did with scheduling panels, right, with scheduling displays, where you get one license and unlimited licensing for scheduling displays. Just one license for Zoom rooms, you get 250,000. And I said, I'll put this, 250,000 licenses for digital signage, where you can start spinning up a lot of digital signs throughout your campuses. You can use this for the content generation as well as the content broadcasting using one of these Yealink RoomCast little players. Very inexpensive solution where you can now put boards, and you can start doing live Zoom meetings or announcements, so your principals, superintendents can do that. Now, if you have Zoom Phone, you can also do emergency broadcasting onto all the screens that are powered by Zoom. So you can now start adding to your strategy from a safety coordination right with digital signage, which is all available on Zoom and Zoom Phone. Now here, you also can do modules. So for example, I reserved those 2 rooms. I can see which rooms are, and so this is a screen that you can take from there. And if you guys are joining us in Zoomtopia October 3rd and 4th, we definitely would love to link up with you live and have that conversation with you. Now, one of the things that we do in spaces like this, now in schools, lots of open spaces. So how do we address some of the noises and some of the disrupting sounds that happen when you are in an open space like this? So here, this is where it's a Thursday. Things are a little slow here at Zoom, so I don't have a lot of Zoomies in this space. But when we do, again, we still have to conduct demos. We still have to conduct business here. So what happens when we are joining in a hybrid meeting, or perhaps I have a couple participants that are just lounging on these couches, and then they want to join somebody in Zoom? What happens to those Zoomies that are in the virtual space when there's just a lot going on here. So for example, if I bring my coffee and I decide that I want to stir it, you guys are going to hear everything through this mic, right? So this mic's open. You guys can hear that it's pretty loud. If I decide that I'm going to, cut some paper and do things that, again, in the past have become, real problems. Not sure how many of you have a gong at the office, but if I decided to do a gong, I just want to make sure that you guys know that it's actually a working gong. So how do we do in order to mitigate for a lot of these environmental noises that can really have, put that meeting into the decline and really not have an effective, collaboration session? With some of the AI features that are both done at the cloud level from Zoom and through our manufacturers like Yealink and their codecs and the algorithms that they have loaded into this technology, now we can do quite a bit. This noise canceling features can detect what is not a human frequency and then cancel it. Instead of just talking about it, let's go ahead and join.
All right, guys. So here we are with our Yealink A20. This is a unit that we use day in and day out here at Zoom in our open spaces and pretty much everywhere. And as you can see, one of the things that I was showing you is when I had the mic that I have on my lapel, you could hear every noise. But now when I'm speaking and I decide to pick the cup, I can just go ahead and make as much noise. And all those noises get canceled. Let's go ahead and do my little gong here so you guys can see. So I keep talking, but then all these noises, because the frequency does not match a human speech frequency, all those frequencies are captured but then filtered. I'm just to keep talking here with my paper. And as you can hear, I'm going to put it right next to my mic so you guys see that all these things, now I'm just working with my Yealink mic. And I just keep making a lot of noise, but all you're hearing is just my voice. So a lot of cool things, again, especially with children and with busy areas, like if you are doing this in a gym, lots and lots of things that you can do with technology, like noise, with acoustic fencing and things like that are loaded into this technology. Let me go ahead and hang up, and then let's move to our last space before we turn it over to my friend Lance Ford.
All right, so guys, our last stop, let me go get my computer here. Now we're going to our classroom. Obviously, a lot of you are in the education space. You guys want to see what we're doing in spaces like this. And the whole idea of this is to keep things very simple. In the past, we went through a lot of expense, a lot of trouble, not only from an installation perspective and room prep, but also from a support perspective. Things just got crazy in some of these rooms and very expensive. So it was hard to scale, it was hard to maintain, it was hard to deploy, and it was really hard to refresh because you had a lot of this infrastructure that was already built into these rooms. So how do we do, and what do we do in order to really make this experience a lot better and a lot easier? So here we borrowed the example from one of our leading universities that uses Zoom rooms in their hybrid programs day in and day out. They are the leaders. They're down in Southern California, a very well-known institution. And what they did is that they wanted to just bring the Zoom room to the front of the space, leverage the wide-angle lens that is built into these cameras, and then just have the board just like this. And all the benefits that we showed you in the huddle room, wireless content share, everything else, they have it centralized here. So let's go ahead and join the call so you guys can see what we're talking about.
All right, let's get the camera to join us here real quick here. Give me a second. So as we start talking, and then we have Ed as part of these meetings. So hello, Ed. One of the things that we do is we like to showcase what's possible from a camera perspective and what we can do with the space when we're running into, yeah, perfect. We have it in multi-stream now. So now the camera is looking for us. So it does auto tracking and it's starting to scan the room, as you can tell. Now when the two of us are here, now it puts us both on frame. We can start interacting. We can now join in, and we can use this board for whiteboarding. But one of the things that you guys can see is as I move around, is now going to put myself and Ed on our own frame. You guys can see that there's another camera. That's a secondary camera. In a lot of these spaces, we do need second cameras for the audience and the presenter. And again, the infrastructure and the cabling in order to get this done, not very, very expensive. Well, what if we can do all this on the cloud? So we have what's called in July, we released something called Companion Zoom Room. And it is a second Zoom Room that syncs just using the same license, so no additional licensing for this, that syncs to a Zoom, to the main Zoom Room in the space. And then now we have a secondary camera. So if I move to this space, and then I wanted to direct the gallery and show what we can do from here, as a speaker, as somebody that's moving around, I don't have the ability to go right back into this space, but I can actually look into this camera and get closer to my students with this camera. And as you can see, again, all I did is this device that you see here, this camera that's here, is all connected via the cloud. Only power and network, so I got it on Wi-Fi and with 110 power. And then now I can just go ahead and sync to my other Zoom Room, and then I have two cameras playing at the same time. Now with that, you guys saw some of the, what the base technology can do with some of the things that I was showing you, some of the great innovations that we're doing here at Zoom from a cloud perspective. But now let's put this into a practical application. Let's have our friend, Dr. Lance Ford, show you what he's doing with his students in the classroom, how he's leveraging this technology to teach, to really start getting all his pupils and all his students to the next level, because let's face it, this technology is here to stay. This technology is being demanded by our students, and we all need to be ready to cater to the next generations that are so used to dealing with electronics, with cameras, and they like to see themselves on video. So with that, Dr. Ford, please take it over. Thank you so much for your attention, and then you guys are in for a treat. He really does a great presentation.
Well, thank you, Felipe, and thank you, everybody, for allowing me to join you today. I do want to take a few minutes and just say I'm at a school in Southeast Oklahoma. I do also teach adjunct for our regional community college. I got 60 students this fall, so it's never a dull moment in my life. And what I wanted to do today is take you through three different scenarios. Scenario number one, what does it look and feel like? Felipe mentioned the learning management system. What does it look and feel like to have that learning management system engaged in the Zoom experience? Okay. And then I'd like, if you guys are okay with it, I'd like to take you to actually a couple of classrooms where we have different manifestations of Yealink hardware deployed inside those spaces. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to dive right on into my learning management system. This one happens to be Canvas, but Sakai, Moodle, Desire to Learn, as long as it's LTI compliant, the Zoom LTI Pro module will work with it. Down here on the left-hand side, you see that I have my announcements, my assignments, my discussions. And for me as a teacher, this is where that LTI makes itself manifest in my course. Now, if you're looking for this, it does have to be set up. It's available for free at marketplace.zoom.us. And so you can head right on out there, right? You can minimize me for a split second. Head out to marketplace.zoom.us. Do a quick search for LTI, and you will see the module. Now, in order to deploy it, you do have to have administrative rights to your learning management system for that initial setup. But once it's there, like I said, it's a module for me. We're going to schedule a new class meeting. I teach music and preach at the college, so we're going to put that in here real quickly. This plugin, just so you know, for Canvas is actually section aware and Canvas group aware. So I can say I would like multiple sections to be a part of this meeting. For viewers, I'd like multiple sections or only those sections to be able to watch a recording. We'll talk about that as we go through this. Let's say we're going to make it recurring because most of my classes happen on a standard schedule. We'll go Tuesdays, Thursdays. End of my semester is actually out here in December the 15th. So we got it there. We're going to schedule our Yealink A20 as our classroom. Now, Felipe has shown you the A20 in a room, sort of a conference room. And I'm going to show you how it works with my old school smartboard, kind of like he did with the A10 just a moment ago. So we'll say there's the room we're going to use. Maybe we want to predefine some breakouts. Felipe mentioned whiteboards. We want well, at least I do. I have my students create whiteboards, and because whiteboards are a part of a persistent experience now in Zoom, those whiteboards are available for me to comment on between classes, for them to have their own small groups, and obviously when we do breakouts, they have that in live class as well. We'll say we want to record this automatically, and we'll go from there. Now, Felipe mentioned Zoomtopia. This is my first time to ever join a Zoomtopia live on site, so I'm really excited, but it means I'm going to not be here at school for a week, and then I got to go to EDUCAUSE the week after that. So I will literally log into Canvas, I will hit start, and I will join the class from the road. But when I am here on campus, I will walk into the classroom. I'll be greeted with some amazing signage because, like Felipe said, digital signage is a part of the Zoom platform. So I'm here. I've got my A20. I'm going to click on my old school smartboard. There it is. Music Caprice. You just watched me schedule it. So we go ahead and hit start. We'll fire that class off. Once we fire it off, Zoom is going to make sure you're okay with being recorded. We'll look at that recording here in a moment. And one of the things that my teachers love about the Yealink tools, I don't know if you saw it on the initial unit that Felipe used, but the camera actually popped up. So sometimes people were concerned that they're being filmed at all times. That is not the case with Yealink. You had the little camera cover or the camera pops up as a part of this. You can see that I have a couple of students here in the classroom over there, and we're getting the shots framed. One of the things I will do as a part of class is I will give notes. You probably give notes too if you're a faculty member. We'll pop up Zoom Whiteboard. Now, while Zoom Whiteboard is popping up, I want you to process something real quick. You watched me schedule this experience inside the learning management system, right? Now that I have gone in and started a whiteboard as a part of my class, we'll just call this notes. All right. All those things are being broadcast out into my remote class sites as well as here locally. If I want to deliver a poll, I can deliver a poll from my Zoom advanced polls straight away from my Yealink A20 without ever getting a laptop out. But here's something that's interesting going to happen on this whiteboard. I'm going to close this out. And it's going to pop up and say, would you like to connect? Now, in my world, I have the ability to export that directly into my Zoom channels. So my Zoom Teams meeting channels outside of here. So I can have those as artifacts inside that ongoing chat discussion, or I can bring it right back into my class. Now, how do I bring it back into my class? So class is over. We've rocked and rolled. Let's go here. I now have a tab inside LTI called Whiteboard. And it's probably not quite here yet, but you can see that all my whiteboards are here, and I have the ability to bring them directly into my class so that my students can access it later. I have multiple classes that I teach. I can share it with multiple different sections of class. All of that is built directly into your learning management system integration. If you need to book an appointment or offer some times that students can actually meet with you, you can say every Monday or every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, block a time. How long will it be? When the student logs in, they see an opportunity to reserve that time. And when they reserve that time, both you and they get a unique Zoom link to a Zoom meeting that does not interfere with anything else that's going on in the class. This is no additional cost for you guys, okay? You remember we recorded. Again, the recording is getting processed because it's not just getting turned into a recording, it's also getting turned into a full speech-to-text transcript and closed caption for my students who need that. But once it's available, then I come in, I turn it on. My students have the ability to click on the link and they can watch it. What they don't have, I do have, is recording analytics. Who watched what? How much of it did they watch? When did they watch it? Did they download it? And all of that information. I also, as a part of this post-meeting experience, have the ability to click this report. Now, I can't click this report right now because you would see student information, all right? But it tells me who joined, how long they were there, and what time they left. And if I want to make that a part of my gradebook, I can set up attendance reporting directly into my gradebook so they receive a score for how long they were there. Again, all of that is built in. Now, one thing Felipe didn't talk much about, but I'm really passionate about, is Yealink phones with Zoom Phone. You know, my students don't respond very well to emails. They don't respond very well to discussion threads. But with Zoom Phone, I can actually SMS them directly from my learning management system. I can place a call to them here. And if necessary, I can also place that call directly from my Yealink phone. Let me show this to you just real quick. I'll bring it up underneath my document camera if I can. Because not only do I have the ability to call my students, I also have emergency situations that happen on campus. Now, I'm not going to get crazy with this, but I do want you to see what's going to happen, and I'm going to have to do some quick switching for you to see it. Let's just say we have a lockdown situation that happens on campus. I'm going to mash the lockdown button. Right? Keep an eye on time.
An emergency lockdown has been issued.
Please follow lockdown procedures and wait for y'all to hear. Now, all this content that I'm pushing to you is having its genesis directly inside the Zoom phone environment. It's a conversation for another day. And in fact, I put myself as a notifier on that. You can see that my phone is now ringing on my watch. All of these things tie together thanks to the power of Yealink and Zoom, whether it's Zoom Room or Zoom Phone. I also can lock all of those rooms with a single click. Won't do it now because I got 2 other classrooms to get to in the next 18 minutes. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm looking for questions. I don't see any. You guys do me a favor. Open up that chat right now. I know you can't post in there, but there's a whole lot of resource links inside there. While I go to my music classroom next door, do me a favor. Harvest some of those links so you can have them after the fact. I'm going to mute my audio in here so we don't get feedback. And I promise you, I will be right back. See you in just a second. All right. I told you I'd be right back. And now here I am. Okay. Now, a moment ago, when Felipe and Ed were in their classroom, they had a Zoom room running in Zoom RoomCompanion room mode. Okay. What I've done here today is I have that. It's the 4th little device that does not have a camera turned on yet, because I want you to see a couple of things. First thing I want you to see is that from this single Zoom room, there are 3 cameras physically attached. They're pointing to different areas of my room. So if I were to kind of get up and move around, you'd kind of have to find me in one of those little quadrants as the process goes. And you see that I got a few students in here with me right this second. So we're all in here. But it still kind of feels like they're remote, right? What if these 3 cameras could work together with artificial intelligence to determine what the best view of any of these people is to you guys? Well, it can. The process that Zoom calls Intelligent Director. So what I'm going to do here real quickly is I'm going to turn on that Intelligent Director feature. By default, it takes those other camera images and puts them out there. Now, I know this is really weird, and whoever's doing the spotlighting, God love your soul. You're working your tail off to make this happen right this second. But what you're seeing is there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different images coming to you. Now, wouldn't it be great if the students in my classroom would just stand still or sit still for the entirety of our class? Yeah, it really would. But it never works that way. In fact, I rock back and forth a lot in my seat. And you can see that in the large shot of the class, my face is actually covering Harry Potter's right this second. Okay. So Harry Potter is being picked up from a different camera. Let me prove that to you. I'm going to stand up. Okay. I'm going to start walking around because sometimes I need to get back here and I need to work with Elvis. Well, as a part of that, the camera system has now determined, hey, there's a better shot of Dr. Ford, and it has chosen that particular camera image. I'm now going to walk over here and work with Steve Carell and his group. Steve, you're doing great work. Queen, hang in there. Now, hopefully, as I'm walking around the room, you see that the camera angle on me is switching based on what the best view of me is, right? Additionally, I hope you're able to hear me. It's not magic, and I'm not wearing a mic like Felipe was. It's these little guys right here. You know, these little wireless puck mics from Yealink. They're absolutely incredible. So on the days when we're doing group work, we can throw a mic out on these tables, and they can all work together. On the days we're not doing group work, I have the mics up there with me. They're absolutely wireless. I can set them anywhere in the room. People always ask me, as a part of this Intelligent Director, well, Lance, this is really cool, but you've only got like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only like 5 people in there with you. What happens if more people come in? Well, hang on a sec. I happen to have Matthew McConaughey and Judge Judy hanging out next door. So let's put Matt over here at the old school board, marker board. Okay. And let's put Judge Judy about 40 feet away from these cameras, the very back of the room. We'll stick her right here, like she's back here at the digital signage. And by the way, this digital signage is powered by that Yealink RoomCast that Felipe was showing you. So now you can see it's starting to subdivide some of these images to get all of us in the experience with you. This is happening dynamically. I am not mashing any buttons. There is no one, well, other than these stiff people, there's no one physically here in the room with me, tracking me around the physical space. And if this weren't enough, okay, we do have another option here. Because just like Felipe shared with you, that companion Zoom room has the power to actually be a part of our experience as well with our cameras. Let me just turn it on real quickly. And I don't know if you saw it happen or not, but it actually unveiled itself. The little camera slider went across, and now we have this image directly across from me. So as you bring in companion Zoom room, again to Felipe's point, there's no hard physical wire attaching that thing to the primary room, which means, yes, it can be moved to another room and paired with that other room and used as appropriately and as necessary around the campus experience. Now, I just wanted to show you how Zoom rooms, companion Zoom room, these wireless microphones, all from Yealink, work to make this a very transparent experience. But I got one more experience that's going to resonate for some of you guys, especially at higher ed. This room is pretty small, right? I mean, it's round table seating for about 20 folks. You college instructors are like, boy, would I love to just have 20 people in my classroom. So let's go to a room that seats closer to 50 folks, that's tiered seating, and let's explore a couple of modes in there. Let's explore what it's like when I'm just giving direct lecture, okay? And then what it's like when we bring in the Yealink AV hub to give me multiple student shots and the lecture experience. Again, I got to go next door, and sometimes that door's locked, so I got to not lock myself out. Got my key, right? So I'm going to turn this off, and I will be right.
You think Lance has a really big campus, but it's, one building, really just next door he's gonna go.
Okay, all right, bye. Hey, everybody. I hope you can hear me and see me okay. Yeah, there we go. Now we're rocking and rolling. So the camera has found me in this large classroom. This is my good friend, Miss Parks. She's here working. We're not gonna bother her, okay? But I do want you to see as I walk across the classroom that it's pretty wide. It's almost 50 feet wide. And I'm on the outside wall right this second. So even though I deliver direct instruction verbally, I might walk around as a part of that. You might walk around too. I'm going to just kind of stroll down here between the aisles. You see all these amazing IMAX. Miss Parks, once again, doing a great job teaching our video production class or journalism class. She does coding. She does all kinds of stuff as a part of this physical space. So right now, again, direct instruction. But what happens when there are students in this room? We invoke the Yealink AV Hub to bring multiple images into this experience all at once. Let me do that for you. Now, while there are 3 physical cameras in this environment, they're all in different modalities. This particular one right here is working in sort of a presenter track mode, which literally means as I physically walk from side to side or move around and go over here to this side, it's tracking me in real time, okay? The other one's taking just a second to find me. In fact, if I turn here and say, I've got a question, right? It comes over to me. That's in speaker track mode. So imagine a student being on the front row, raising their hand, asking a question, it zooms into them. Another student begins to talk over there, it zooms into them. Now, I'm working to get a 4th camera in here because I think you can see what I'm doing with the last camera. This camera that I'm pointing to right now, it's actually just pointing directly to a preset area. And the reason it's doing that is for context for the students that are in here. Obviously, I need to bring a 4th camera in and point it that direction so I can see both sides in context, one for the questioner, one for the teacher, and make that whole thing work. In fact, Felipe, are you still out there? Are you still joined as a part of this call where you can hear me? No, I guess not. Sean, I'm going to ask you a quick question. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, and maybe somebody from Yealink can answer this question. There's a room there at San Jose. We call it the McLaren room. And it also has this feature in it. How many cameras do we have actually installed in that room, y'all?
Pretty sure it's running 9 cameras.
So Thank you, Sean. And Sean, you want to introduce yourself real quick, buddy?
Hi, everyone. When Lance is talking, I like to be nice and quiet because, I don't want to step on him. But I'm Sean Spires. I'm Felipe's peer for the eastern half of the U.S. So all higher ed K-12 in the eastern half. I'm your Zoom room specialist around all this stuff. And although I'm spotlighted, so you see me replicated on that screen there, I have a lot of this gear here in my own lab as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. So Sean, East Coast, Felipe, West Coast. I'm just wherever they need me, right? I'm just here to help because I love working inside this environment here at school. But to Sean's point, 9 cameras. Now, somebody out there is going, why the devil? I mean, that's just TMI for me. As you start to get into these larger spaces, as you start to explore breakouts around the room, as you start to look at contextually students actually applying knowledge and you try to get a visual on that process, it's almost the more the merrier. Right, I would strongly encourage you to look at the Yealink AV Hub as a part of your deployment because it provides you with some amazing, as you see now from this 3 up, it's coming across as 1 gallery image, 3 up, we can do it in multiple layouts. It's a conversation for another day with the Yealink team or with me or Sean or Felipe. But there are so many flexible options that this particular tool gives you to really grow exponentially your deployment. Now, Sean, I'm going to go back to my original office so Ms. Parks can get to work and I can stop bothering her. But I want to make sure we get any and all questions answered. So I'll be right back, y'all. See you in just a second.
Yeah, and you guys will all notice I turned on multiple cameras here. I don't have mine in the tracking modes right now, but I'm running 3, actually even 4 cameras with the one on the board there here in my own, I say office building, whatever I'm in here in my property. But we can demo this. We can talk to, anyone about how to build these rooms. These are both Yealink cameras, is UVC 86 and a UVC 84 right now, as well as another UVC 84 in the middle. Yeah. I'll add too, the companion board behind me, I love it, right? It gives me another screen. It gives me another camera. It gives me a whiteboard surface. And I ran no cables to it. It's Ethernet and power. It's not connected to my Zoom room at all, but as soon as I hit start, it connects. As an example, if you were to take maybe a 65-inch screen, a camera, a touch screen, a camera, wire that up, you could be looking at $8,000 or $9,000 for the rear of the room. You can now do that for half that cost with one of these Yealink boards.
Great call out, Sean. I'm looking for anything in the Q&A. I don't see anything there. Eddie, do you have anything else to add to our conversation today, my friend? Or Leal, anybody want to pipe in here before we turn these wonderful people loose, let them get on with their day?
Maybe talk about the Yealink demo program.
That would be great, Sean. You want to bring that up, then I'll invite them to meet us both at Zoomtopia and at EDUCAUSE in a couple of weeks.
I think there was a link that Yealink put in here. One of the links is there to sign up to have some of the systems shipped to you if you want to try these. If you want to try them on Zoom Rooms and you don't have a Zoom Room license yet, reach out to myself, reach out to Felipe or your account manager. We'll assist them in getting a Zoom Room license added to your account so that we can try all this gear.
And as Chin Chin is saying in there, if you happen to be at Zoomtopia, if that's in your schedule already, and even if it's not, after watching this, you're like, man, I'd like to give this stuff a whirl. Please do us a favor. There's a link there for you to be able to schedule time at the Yealink booth and get a full tour of everything that Yealink is doing. Sean and I are both so jealous right now, Felipe, with that new A24 device, we can hardly stand it, right? So we're looking forward to getting our hands on one of those as well. But having said that, it will be there. The RoomCast will be there. These multi-cameras, you saw us, the 86s, the 84s, they will be there. So make a plan to be there at Zoomtopia. And if you're not, we will have some of this amazing Yealink hardware at EDUCAUSE for those of you who are visiting us in Chicago towards the middle of the month. So with all that said, Chin Chin, I will hand it back over to you, ma'am, and I will get out of the way.
You guys are awesome. I think you covered all the topics I would like to talk about. Yealink will definitely show at Zoomtopia with every year. And for this year, please feel free to book a booth tour with us. The devices you have seen in this live demo, we will show those devices at Zoomtopia as well. So please feel free to come by if you plan to go to Zoomtopia and touch and play those devices.
Thanks again,
So
everybody. Go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, hand it back to you.
Say thanks again, everybody, for taking time from your crazy busy schedules, which I know they are right now, to join us. We're all pretty easy to get a hold of at Zoom. The Zoomies are first.last at zoom.us, Sean.Spires, Felipe.Hinal, Lance.Ford at zoom.us. Don't be strangers, okay? Don't feel like you're out at the end of your rope and you don't have any help. Do reach out to us. And if we never see you or hear from you again, that is not our fault. Okay. So we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. And I'll send the recording to all the registrants after this webinar. And thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.